Hey, we're Gerald and Tabby, married over 22 years.
And still choosing each other on purpose.
We're definitely better together.
We've been through addictions, infidelity, open adoption, financial crisis, and each other.
She's the drama.
And he's the calm most of the time.
We're not experts, and we're definitely not licensed therapists. But we've learned a lot the hard way, and we're not afraid to talk about it.
For too long, we walked through our struggles alone, but that's not how God designed marriage or life.
This is where we get real about marriage, faith, and the messy stuff no one warns you about after you say, I do.
We call out the bad advice, the fake perfection, and the things that just don't work out in real life. So if you want polished, we're not it.
But if you're looking for honest, then welcome. This is I Still Do.
Disclaimer, this episode includes conversations about sensitive topics such as suicide, drugs, alcohol, and infidelity. Listener discretion is advised. These discussions may be triggering for some and may not be suitable for children. Please use care when listening, and if needed, consider stepping away or seeking support.
Welcome back to those tuning in every week. Sounds weird. That sounds like a old school TV show. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, so here we are, another week, another podcast. We've actually had a busy couple weeks.
I feel like every day's busy, but it's good busy. It's good
for
stress,
sure.
but it's
Yeah,
we're definitely a
busy couple, busy family for sure.
yes.
On top of all of our normal busy things with coaching and work and homeschooling and all the things, you baptized our son.
Mm-hmm.
What an incredible honor.
Yep.
Then you officiated our nephew Hunter and his new wife Allison's wedding. Another incredible honor.
Super awesome.
Which both things were very emotional and just amazing to be a part of. And so I'm proud of you. You did amazing.
Then I wrecked my truck in between all that.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So that helped us slow down for a few minutes.
Lady ran a red light. Thankful to God you're still here and you walked away from it. And that was an emotional evening. After we got home, I cried and hugged you and was just thankful I was able to hug you still.
Yeah.
Sometimes things like that put life in perspective. So we had a lot of life events happen in the past week. Our son baptized, our nephew married, and you in a pretty serious car accident that you were actually able to walk away from, and we're so grateful.
And we've got a lot going on. We're really involved with a sports organization for our kids, so we have a lot of teenagers and now in our life again, which feels like it's come full circle.
It has, which is amazing, because we'll get into that today with our podcast and
it's a great time.
All the work we've done with teenagers and are now doing again because our kids are near that age now. We have one teenager because Zayden is 13 and Zinley's 10, but she's in the mix still because she comes to cheer practices with me, and I'm cheer coaching again for the second time around, and you're football coaching and about to go into basketball.
Coaching.
Yeah, assistant.
Let's make it clear.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's an extremely busy time right now. So anyways, I'm excited to get into the podcast that we were going to talk about this week.
Yeah, so today I think we'll just go into how God really just puts things in motion without us knowing. And whenever, we ended the last one on just kind of a little bit being defeated, or me being defeated about not being able to go into ministry and that whole kind of new Christian mentality and that whole process that we were going through as a couple, you supporting me through that, but also trying to keep my feet grounded somewhat. And, oddly enough, you were the more realistic one in that time frame, and I was the one in the clouds on that one. But I think that's where obviously couples come together. But right around that time, I was still working at McCoy Myers and feeling very defeated. And I think a lot of people feel defeated, especially when they become new Christians, just because they feel like they've got to, I don't know if the ways to say run away from stuff, but maybe run to something versus try to make the things better where they're at, or try to like influence the areas they're at.
Well, sometimes you have a false sense when you become a Christian that everything just automatically changes around you and with you, and that's just not the case. You had a personal life change, but everyone around you is still the same.
Right.
So it's really hard to navigate. And, you thought you wanted to go change the world, right? Mm-hmm. And you wanted to go into ministry, and then you were let down, and so you're just like, what am I really doing here? But I think it was actually really a good lesson to learn about how you really have to listen to God. I think you were going off your own fleshly things, like, this is what I want to do, and really not what God had planned for you. So it was kind of a humbling in that area, which is a hard lesson, but something we all have to learn.
Well, and a lot of couples, like even though we went through that drama, and trauma.
Yeah, both.
We were both kind of sitting in two different places where you're kind of in your own journey with God. I'm in my own journey with God. We're trying to figure out what that even looks like together still. And then what I think is amazing is that God takes a moment. And I remember just coming to my desk one morning at McCoy Myers and just like, hey, I don't know what else to do, so I'm just going to work this job kind of thing. And I was going to a users meeting. I think it was like a week later or something, like whatever the time frame is. But this would be my first users conference, which was a big conference where a lot of other banks came, and you show new applications or different things like that. But
the name is funny because it sounds like a drug user. Users group? Yeah, because a lot of time when I tell people this story, they're like, users meeting? Yeah. They think
users
it's like,
of a software or application.
It's called the users meeting, but a lot of people are like a drug meeting?
Yeah.
No, it's not that.
So I'm going to this users meeting, and this is the first time I'm going, and I'm not going to be drinking or hanging out. And I have complete anxiety about how to tell people this, because there's a lot of people at this users conference that I've worked with, but I don't see them but a couple times a year. So the last time I saw them, we were all going to bars and hanging out and doing all those sorts of things. And this would be the first time I'm like...
sober.
I remember we had talked about it because I had a lot of anxiety about that time, just like, what am I going to do? How am I going to have these conversations? And I was still very immature on how to have some conversations about all of this. And so we worked out some stuff about it just to be able to call, and a level of accountability we could have. And so when I got to the conference, it was in Dallas, just a few hours up north from Waco, and got there. I think I immediately call you when I get in my room, like, okay, I'm going downstairs to start the day or whatever. So
yeah, and I think we pray together because this is it's obviously going to be different for you because you're expected to be the party guy, the hype guy. I mean, they literally expect that from you. I mean, it's been told to you.
Yeah.
This is your role. And you did it very well.
And the younger people were put onto that. So,
yes, exactly. So this is your first year not being in that role, and you're nervous about having to explain that to people. So we pray, and you go to the conference, which during the day is fine because you're not going to have to explain yourself.
And I actually kind of was somewhat distant throughout the day, but either way, I get through the day. And then it gets toward the end of the day, and that's when I'm starting to get kind of like, okay, how am I going to handle the evening? Because that's whenever people are like, hey, they're already trying to figure out what they're going to do that night. Mm-hmm. Usually there's entertainment, there's a meal, there's all those sorts of things. So I go to the meal afterwards and the whole dinner. I go upstairs and I call you. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of talk it out like, hey, I have to go make an appearance at the entertainment part. Because it was mandatory. You go around, you have to talk to customers that are coming to this. So I call you, and I think we prayed. We did something, maybe talked on the phone. And I go downstairs. And when I'm going downstairs, I'm just walking alone. And this is the Hyatt, so there's a long, big lobby. And there's another guy coming completely on the other side, and I see he's wearing one of the name tags from the conference. So, and I recognize him from something, but at the time I couldn't figure it out. But then something in me I turn and go talk to him. I just make a beeline to him and say, "Hey, I'm Gerald. Just want to check, see how you're doing in the conference." He goes, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "I'm Dan from Groesbeck." I was like, "Oh yeah, we've talked before," and just kind of like that. And we talked, but it wasn't anything in detail before because I was more in customer service. So, and then that's kind of where the conversation. It was just more or less like he just said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Hey, I just talked to my wife, going back downstairs." He goes, "Well, good man. I'm going to call my wife right now," and that's kind of how it ended. Didn't think anything else of it, and. No less than a week later, I get a phone call, and it's Dan, and he's calling he called my direct line. Gerald Tabby. I'm like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "This is Dan Collins." I'm like, "Hey, Dan, how you doing?" I was thinking something was wrong, and so
Yeah,
and then
something happened at the users meeting. Or
something happened,
yeah.
or something's wrong with his bank. Something's going on,
true.
And so therefore he's like, "Hey, have you ever considered leaving that side of banking and coming over to work for a community bank, actually working in the bank?" I was like, "Never thought about it." I was like, "What you thinking?" And one thing led to another. Before I know it, I'm calling you and saying, "Hey, I think I might have been offered a job." But then we go and we work out to meet in Logan's or something, whatever, steakhouse in town. And Dan shows up, the CEO of the bank shows up, and then they want you to come. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Wow, that's interesting. You want to meet my wife too?" So we all four go meet and eat dinner, and it's nothing about work. And that's what I thought was very unique about the interview, because it's probably been one of the two interviews I've probably had in my life where they didn't talk about work. They talked about, how's your family, what's your goals, kind of what is your marriage like. I mean, just talking through, they pointed so many questions towards you, like, what would you feel like about this? And I just thought it was very unique. So
I thought so too. I felt very included, and I really liked that it was more of a family-oriented bank, that they cared about my thoughts. And because, when you first mentioned this to me, I didn't even know what Groesbeck was. I had no clue it was even a city that was like 40 miles from here. And so I was nervous about it because I didn't know what to think. And then the fact that they were like, we would love to have you, but before, we bring you on, we want to meet your wife and include her in the process. And it was just something foreign to us that we hadn't really considered before. Hindsight now, very important to us. Set the tone for what we were going to head into.
Yeah. And we met, ended up going to Groesbeck, having another interview, and I was having a ton of like, oh God, I got to just be open and honest with them, because again, I've only been a Christian for maybe 8 months, 9 months. This is all in the same year. So there's a lot of movement happening already. And I go, and immediately in the interview, I kind of stop them before they start and say, "Hey, I got to tell you guys some things." And I go over like, this is what I was doing before I was a Christian. Here's what's happened. Here's what's happened to me and my wife's marriage. It's like, and I tell them everything. And I remember Dan just kind of sat back in the chair, was like, "Hey, we all got stuff." And Morse was like, "Yeah." It was just such an accepting group. They were just like, "Hey, yeah, that's what we do here." And they were so aware of alcohol abuse, addictions, different things like that to the point where they didn't even do alcohol at parties.
Right.
Which I thought that is unique in the banking world. There's
sure.
not a lot of banks that don't have any alcohol at their parties.
Yeah. But also, it's literally the sole reason why Dan called you. Because he had been watching you for a couple of years at the users meeting.
I say that.
Noticed that this year you were not partaking in the drinking and stuff. So it stood out to him. And what's crazy about that is what he was telling us at that dinner that night, is that he knew he wanted you to be his replacement. He knew, like, God had told him that. And I think he said that during the dinner, like, God told him. But you weren't ready yet. And then God, like, basically told him, you'll know when he's ready. And so when you came to the users meeting that year and he was there and you weren't drinking, he was like, oh, he's ready. And that's why you got the call like a week later.
Yeah.
You know, and you had been journaling as well. You had just started that journal because you had finally been like, okay, God, I'm not going to China. I didn't get this ministry job. Clearly you want me here for some reason.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to trust you. And it's like when you finally surrender to that, put your trust, went to this users meeting, even though you were completely anxious about it and having to explain to people, which honestly no one really cared. They were like, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then God showed up and like this whole time. I mean, so it's just really kind of crazy because for years, a couple of years, Dan's looking at you. So that means God had already been preparing you for him and your heart. Like, my mom's always said, like, God is the great dot connector, and this is part of that moment. So everything really aligned, and that's pretty cool.
And
so when you
I forget
confessed,
about that,
right, when you confessed everything to them in their office, like, they needed to be confessed to, and they didn't, they were kind of like, I
thought they were going to just ask me to leave, but they didn't.
No, it's almost kind of like, well, duh, you were such a drinker, and then now you're not. Something had to have happened, and
I know,
we're ready
right?
for you. So
in hindsight, it was
really
like, Robert already knew.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just a neat moment.
But the dots did connect fast, too, because, I mean...
Oh, so fast moving. I think we moved within 2 weeks. Our house sold in 3 days. In fact, our realtor, who was my boss's wife at the time, was like, a lot can happen in 3 days. Like, you know, referencing
I think we
Jesus
had to rent our house.
dying.
We had to rent our house back because we didn't have a house yet in Groesbeck. And then, I mean, it happened within like a month.
Yeah, it was very
crazy
fast.
how fast everything went.
And the community in Groesbeck was so sweet and helped us find a house very quickly, and a house that was really special to the community, and then ended up being special to us and would also still be special to the community. It was just really neat, the way everything played out, I think.
Yeah, and then we get to Groesbeck, we start trying to just, you know, like everyone, get your roots, get some stuff settled out, and
it's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard being new people to a very small town, very tight knit community where everybody knows everybody.
And you're being reminded you're a transplant.
Yeah, you're a transplant for sure. However, people actually though were still so kind to us and very welcoming.
Yep.
And I do appreciate that because a lot of the times you may hear us in this podcast say Groesbeck Grew Us because remember we're coming from a really rough time in our marriage, and we're actually getting this opportunity to just kind of like start fresh. And this is where we're able to really grow with each other. You're able to grow in your career now, and we're able to grow in ministry. Yeah.
And then so we were looking for a church. So I'd started getting plugged in with all the Lions group, Lions Club, and Rotary, and all those little things you join. And so we started looking for a church. And we visited. There's a lot of churches. So we eventually landed on one of the ones that most people went to in town, and started going there. We had never been a member of church. The churches we went to, Salvation Army, and the one with Steve and Judy. And now we were with this more organized church, so it was a little different for us. But we got invited naturally into the youth eventually because people started getting to know us. It's like, oh, trusted young couple. They usually get kids. They usually get wrapped into the youth somehow, and which is a good thing. And we were kind of bouncing around a little bit, not really committing to anything. I think we were just
but just helping where needed. Yeah, I think
we're just kind of working with different,
trying to find our footing. For sure.
Trying to find our footing. And at some point, you start getting to know people at the church and in the community, and eventually that lands you at the school.
Yep.
And then so you start working at the school as the, I don't know what the
attendance clerk, and then the assistant to the assistant principal.
Yeah. So you were in direct line with teenagers.
Yes, in the front office. And dealing with a lot of the discipline stuff.
And now as I'm talking through it, it feels kind of weird. It feels like it was almost like God was setting us up to work with teenagers.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. Because you have to realize, like, the assistant principal in a high school is the one that deals with the discipline. It's not the principal.
Yeah.
They're dealing with other admin things. And so the assistant principal is the first line of discipline. Well, because I assist him and I'm doing attendance, I'm the person that hands out tardies, lunch detention, Saturday schools, and things like that. So I'm dealing with kids too that are in trouble. But this school is so small. It's only a 2A school that I really just am getting to know all the students there.
And I think that's where we started to like I'm literally thinking about it right now, where it was almost like God was aligning our passion for this, because we were both kind of youths that struggled a little bit, and we were coming together on this common thing with teenagers,
Right.
and we weren't even really asking for it. We were just getting invited into these things, right?
Yeah. We were still young ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think because, like you said, we both struggled as youth. We had two completely different upbringings. You struggled more in the alcohol department, and to be honest, I struggled in the promiscuity department. Yes, my dad was a priest, and Episcopal priest, because they can be married, and my mom, they were very involved parents. But you've heard me speak about my biological dad a little bit. He was in and out, so I guess I had a little bit of daddy issues, even though I had two amazing parents at home. I also was a cheerleader and a very popular person, and just fell into that peer pressure and, boys. And I just, unfortunately, went down the road of being pretty promiscuous as a teen.
And then God brings another couple into our path. And then they come, they're about our age, and they're coming to lead the youth program.
Yep.
And again, we have not committed.
At a church in Groesbeck.
At a church the church in Groesbeck. And this couple, we got to know them a little bit. And as we got to know them, we started figuring out we had some common crossovers with passions and different things like that.
Yeah.
And just started to get to know them.
Really enjoyed being around them.
Yeah.
We're the same age. They do have a daughter, and she's, like 1 or 2 years old. And we're still friends with them
just did their
to this
senior
day.
photos?
Yeah, I actually just did her senior photos. Now she's in college, which is like so crazy. Cool. But we just really loved this couple. They became really good friends of ours, and then they kind of like officially invited us to help with the youth.
I think they were the ones that actually pulled us in to actually be members, and a lot of those different things were going on at that time.
Yeah.
Because again, they were just encouraging us, like, hey, you're meeting a need maybe that we're not meeting, and so we can collaborate together. And I just remember all those conversations.
Yeah.
And we started helping out with some programs like Discipleship Now, and we started hosting our own groups and stuff like that at the house, like little Bible studies for teenagers and stuff under the direction of them. And so at some point, as you were getting to know the teenagers
at the high school,
I'm getting to know the kids at the church. We start kind of inviting kids from another world into this church, right?
Right, because I'm meeting a lot of the kids that are unchurched.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I dealt with a lot of the discipline, and I'm just like thinking, oh, they really need Jesus, and maybe they'll feel comfortable at our house, So we start inviting some of these kids.
And it was really, and that's where I think a lot of people need to understand sometimes, and that's where maturity comes into place too. Because you have to understand that some churches are geared to help certain demographics, certain people, and then there's certain things you just need to do for another. They just don't fit. And that's hard to say.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's hard to say. Because even if you look back, it's like I didn't fit into a lot of places where I was trying to plug myself in. There wasn't anybody really pulling out and saying, hey, let me just help you with this. Let me mentor you with this, or discipleship you with this.
This church was clearly more polished than we were.
Yeah.
And we were clearly more connected to the kids that were unpolished.
Right.
So it just kind of didn't fit. We were really honest with our friends about it, who were leading it, and they were actually really supportive. Like, we just thought, I think we need to go in a different direction. We actually really like having the kids over to our house during the week, but we're thinking that we're just not a good fit for this youth program. And then the next week or something, really, I don't really know if it's next week, but very soon after is when Martin comes to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, God doing what God does, already releasing us from this more polished program, right? Mm-hmm. And our friends being more than understanding and being like, yes, please do what God calls you. We're going to miss you here at this church, but, you know, do what you got to do. So then one of the students at the high school, Martin, comes to me and tells me that he's gotten his girlfriend pregnant and he doesn't know what to do. And I adore his girlfriend, Diana, and so I'm like, okay, you want me to talk to Diana? And he's like, yeah, I think she wants to talk to you. She was just like a little scared too. And I'm like, no need to be scared with me. Like, totally okay. But then I think Martin needs someone to talk to. Yeah, I've got Diana, but who does Martin have? And then I asked Martin, hey, do you think you'd be open to talking to my husband? And he asked something like, is he like you? And I'm like, yeah, he's real approachable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let me call him, and then I'll get back with you. So I call you on the phone, and I'm like, hey, this is going to sound a little weird, but I have this kid here who I think you'll really like. You'll have a common interest. He likes basketball. You like basketball. But he's gotten his girlfriend pregnant, and he kind of needs someone to talk to. Would you be interested in doing that?
Yeah.
And you were like, sure.
I said sure with a little hesitation, because I was just like, I've never done this before. And again, it's so much of what God has forced us. I don't know if force is the right word, but for sure giving you opportunities. And at that point, I'm kind of in a place where I'm like, hey, whatever is coming, I'm just going to say yes, because something's going to come out of it, right? And I just remember saying, yeah, let's meet for lunch. I'll take you to lunch. They accepted he accepted the same day. And then he said, can I bring a couple of people? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm covering lunches for everybody today. So,
yeah.
And we go out to a little restaurant outside of the town and all meet up. We all sit down and we're, awkwardly trying to get a conversation started.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Martin, and then Rev, and then Clark. So it's Hispanic kid, black kid, and white kid. All three of them have some issues going on in their life. All three of them got some family things going on. There's just a lot of things going on with these three guys. And as we talk, I noticed this just kind of posture changing with them sometimes. And I noticed it today too. It's like whenever the eyes go from down to looking at you, which is very hard today too with our technology, right? Mm-hmm. But whenever they start looking at you, and it's the same thing with us, right? When we start looking at someone, it's showing respect and like, okay, I'm hearing you, or I need to hear this or whatever. Yeah. And I realized that it was just like, there's a lot of things going on in their lives. And we were just talking about, we weren't really even getting into biblical stuff. We're just talking about life, like how life is just hard. It's unexpected, things like that. So we finish up eating. And we go out we're walking out, go out to the truck, and then I think Reb is the one who actually says it, was just like, hey, we should meet like this again. And I'm thinking this was a one-time deal. We're going to do it more. And so I was like, well, yeah, let me talk to Tabby and see what we can do. And right around the time it was Super Bowl was coming up or something. So we said, hey, let's do a Super Bowl party and have them all come over, right?
Yeah.
And we get the whole Super Bowl party planned. I'm thinking we're going to have 3 to 5 people, and I think we have a dozen, 15 kids there.
Oh, I think it was 15 to 20 kids for sure.
It was the first time our neighborhood was like, why do you have so many cars around your house type thing.
Yeah.
And we have kids from all backgrounds, all sorts of life stories in that room.
Yeah.
And it is something that triggered, because out of that triggered a every Wednesday Bible study or group meeting that I had with guys. You met with the girls differently, but we had the guys at our house. Mm-hmm. We ended up calling it the group because one of the kids there came up with the name, Raul came up with the name group, because we're just trying to thinking, everybody wants to name things. So
Yeah.
they were like, we need to name it something. He's like, well, let's just call it the group, because it's the group. And we had this whole joke like, bars should just be called bars. Store should just be called store. And it was just a really funny thing. And so we call it the group. And we meet every Wednesday. And
for like 6 years.
Yes.
No breaks.
Yeah. It was
it was amazing.
It was almost our whole time. And, we had that almost our whole time in Groesbeck. Mm-hmm. We did this.
Yeah.
And that just became almost a cornerstone of us in that world or in that town for sure.
Walking through heavy things from drugs, pregnancy, alcohol, grades,
schoolwork,
just
whatever.
Life question. I mean, there was literally kind of nothing off limits to talk about at our house. It was very like safe and
it had
open.
To be that way.
Right, because these were kids that were not churched, right?
Yeah.
And they needed like a safe space where they could be open and talk, and then but also Gerald was able to talk about Jesus during this time. It always started off with dinner. We fed them every single time, went into discussion, and it always ended with basketball.
Yeah, basketball and video games.
In video games,
NBA 2K. And a lot of trash talking. Trash talking. So, and, in the middle of all of that, I had, just kind of, I'm still dealing with pornography. Mm-hmm. And I continue to bring it up in the podcast because it's very important to understand that there's just things that we as married couples carry around sometimes, male or female. It doesn't have to be pornography, it can be other things. But in ours, it's this. And we're going through different things, and we have a campfire one night, just about talking in the back. Sometimes we'd fire up the campfire. Mm-hmm. And this is when the group had gotten kind of larger. And
just FYI, yes, I'm there, but I'm not in these discussions.
Yeah.
I'm just there for cooking and baking those chocolate chip cookies that I had to bake for 6 years every week in a row that they just really relied upon. But then I would go in the bedroom, or sometimes if the girls would want to meet, we'd go to another coach's house actually and meet. So I'm not a part of these discussions.
But sometimes you'd come in and talk to the guys about a woman's perspective on things.
Yes, but that wasn't every week.
No,
we were very appropriate with our conversations and stuff, especially because I did not speak on pornography or anything that, is what I'm getting at.
And I didn't either. This is what took it to the next level with the group, was we were sitting around the campfire, and we're just kind of talking, and I would have these nights where we just had open topic nights, like, hey guys, let's just have an open topic. What's on y'all's minds? What have y'all been dealing with? What's been going on? Mm-hmm. And this is where the conversation sometimes would go to race, feeling, prejudiced or stereotyped. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how much we got to know about those sorts of things.
Especially
firsthand.
In a small town.
Yes, in a small town. Understanding that there's still a racial divide, obviously still a mentality that sits in some of those places. Mm-hmm. And so therefore we were learning as well. Yeah.
We had to deal with a little bit of setbacks in that area. I would get notes sometimes in my box at school that say, why do you have those kids in your house? Yeah. And those kids are clearly referring to the black and brown kids, right? But on the other hand, we also had teachers that really stepped up. Like, we had the assistant principal that I worked for that was my boss. Luke Allison was highly supportive of this group and donated money for food and things like that. And then the truancy officer that I worked very close with, because I was also attendance, her name's Darla, she's amazing, started coming over and cooking for the guys. So we had more support than we had opposition, but we did get some really weird opposition that we were like, okay, you anonymous coward, like, who are you with these stupid notes in my... But it was just like, okay, they're not lying because it's literally happening in my mailbox at the school.
Exactly,
you know? So.
And it was just an interesting time because think about our lives now and how that helped us frame that and get to that point.
Yeah.
And that's where that's a whole nother story, but even the way our kids are today and what we even stepped into adoption, a lot of that was built on the backs of a lot of those guys and girls we knew in those days. Just understanding something else.
We're a transracial adoptive family, which means we're white parents and our children are black, they're of color. So, again, God connecting and helping us to be around these children of color that, open our eyes to a lot of things that are going on. So, back to this being around the fireplace, they're able to talk about all these different things. But this particular night, one of the kids asks you.
Particular night, I'm sitting there and we open up and it is dead silent, which sometimes it is with a group of teenagers. Someone's got to break the ice. And this one particular kid who I'd gotten to know him very well, and he says, well, and he's kind of looking around and he's like, what do y'all think about masturbation? And I'm like, whoa, where's this going? Like, hold up. And then he's like, it went into like looking at porn and stuff. Do we think that's wrong? And this kid was part of a church in another city, so he was his heart was stirring about some things already. Mm-hmm. And so he was very mature about talking about this stuff. So it was very interesting. And he was coming at it like, is it wrong? Is it right? What should we do with it? How do we? And I'm like, whoa, I've never even really talked about it. And I kind of bump around this conversation doing what most people do now that I see, not in a negative way, just kind of bring up scriptures, bring up all this stuff, because it's like, I don't know what to say about it because I'm dealing with the same thing and I'm supposed to be your leader now or something and I don't know what to do. And we get through the conversation and I don't know if I've ever told him that, but that spurred me into something.
You might want to reach out
to
him.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually told him that.
Yeah.
And
by the way, we're still in touch with like 90% of these kids. Well, they're adults now.
Obviously they're adults.
Yeah, we're still in touch with them.
That night, we always had a big cleanup thing because we had to sweep and mop because we had so many people in and out of our house, clean the kitchen up. So Tab goes in the back bedroom. I was like, hey, I'll handle the sweeping and mopping. And I'm mopping and sweeping and doing those sorts of things.
No, but before that, I'm actually helping with the dishes. And so is Maurice.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Oh,
and he looks outside. He goes, your backyard's on fire.
That all happened on the same night?
Yes, that was all on the same night that I guess a piece of paper blew.
Yeah, we're in a burn ban, too.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a burn ban. I mean, we had it in a fire pit, but then something blew out. And then a bunch of the guys went out and stomped the fire. It was really funny.
I wish I could say that was the last fire.
Yeah, and then he comes back in. Everyone comes back in the house and is like, so we basically saved your lives. Of course, they're like pumping themselves up. But it was just like a really funny thing because it was a heavy conversation, which I didn't know at the time. Yeah. So they're all amped up over this fire and they all stomp it out and they're telling us how they saved our house, they saved our lives. They're basically heroes. It's really funny. Well, it was a great.
It was a great icebreaker.
Yeah.
But you're talking about their age and stuff, and that's something too that's very important too. It's like they were, you're talking about 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. And they're having this, and they want to have this conversation because they know it's not something they should be participating in. It's not something they want to do. I can, and we're having these conversations, and I'm like, I wish I was having these. I wish I even had the nerve to talk about this stuff when I was their age. Yeah. Right. So I'm intimidated like crazy. Just like I said about a few of these teenagers we're talking about that we're dealing with now. It's like they are so intimidating because they're so just straight to the point. They are who they are. They're not BSing.
But also, they felt extremely comfortable, not only in our home, but around you, but around each other. Mm-hmm. That's how much this group had like grown in trust with one another because nobody ever talked about what the group talked about outside of the group. Yeah. It was pretty incredible, honestly.
Yeah. To the point where they would get offended if someone else came that we didn't like vet out.
Yeah, they'd be like, do we trust this person? Hold on a second. Can we have a conversation like this here? Because we're like real serious. Like it was.
They had a kid. Remember, I want to say they did not want him there because he wasn't taking it serious.
Yeah, and they had to talk with him.
Yeah, they talked with him. That was really cool.
On their own. We didn't have to do it. They were like, if you're not going to take this serious, you're not welcome here. And they saw us like as parents almost. And they were just really like, you're not going to disrespect this house, this group, us. It was, man, that group was amazing, honestly. And I really am so grateful that we have.
We had one kid that was arrested for like burglary at once. And someone had come to the bank and told me, like, you realize one of the this particular kid was arrested for. I was like, well, he never steals from me. Yeah. And that's all I said.
Yeah, and it's like, so literally not the time to abandon him. Yeah. Actually, the time that we need to push forward.
Exactly.
And y'all, sometimes it was a rough group. There would be weeks where it's like they only smoked weed that week. That was a good week. Yeah. You know? Now, not every kid was like that in the group. It was actually super diverse. We had kids very straight-laced and narrow. Mm-hmm. And then we had kids who were like, if you don't stop, you're going to be in prison. Mm-hmm. So it was a very diverse group.
But they all wanted to talk about, like, they all wanted this open conversation about God. And they wanted to talk about it. And they wanted to talk about
the camaraderie,
relationships and the confusion of it. And like I said,
they all found common ground multiple times. That's why the diversity is so important to mention. Yeah. From the straight-laced to the kids that are looking at possibly prison jail time. Yeah. That they all were able to find common ground, and really they all weren't that much different.
Nope, not at all. And so that night I'm sweeping, getting everything together. Everybody's gone, and I'm kind of by myself. Yeah. You're going to bed. Yep. And again, this is one of those moments I'm not like proud to like admit, but this is what happened. I grabbed my laptop and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to grab my laptop and go to the bathroom and do my business, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying I'm going to do research because these guys have just challenged me. Right. And now I'm doing research. And I remember watching a video from XXX. I run across the deal from XXXchurch.com. Mm-hmm. And XXXchurch.com is an online accountability group.
And for it's xxxchurch.com. Yes. You don't spell out triple X.
Right,
just by the way.
And it's called Live Free now. Mm-hmm. But at the time, yeah. And I run across these videos, and I'm like, and this guy Carl's on there just talking about addiction and intimacy issues and all this stuff. And I start watching these videos, and I'm like, oh, this guy's full of it, right? Mm-hmm. And then, without even knowing, I'm looking at porn. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a problem. And it was like the first time it really hit me. And I just hit the ground and just like, almost like sobbing. I'm just like, I can't believe this is like, this is crazy. I've went through all of this stuff and now I've got this. Mm-hmm. Because we grow up in a culture where it's kind of like men will be men, boys will be boys, whatever, right? Yeah. And
that's so stupid, by the way.
These teenage boys have just wrecked me. Right. This one kid with his one question, very blunt question, very straightforward question, has just wrecked me. Yeah. And caused me to go into a spiral. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that night, I sent a message to XXXchurch.com, xxxchurch.com, and I sent him an email and said, I want to talk to this guy named Carl on this video and talk about this because, I wanted to know if this was true, right? Mm-hmm. The next day, this guy called, like he sends me a message and it's like, hey, are you free for a call? And it was that night we were talking. And he's just telling me about the group. He's from New Jersey, so he's speaking my language,
Not the group that's our group, but the accountability group.
The accountability group.
Online.
And so we're talking, and he's just telling me about what addiction is, what do you call it, compulsion, different things like that, why accountability groups or something, why shouldn't we do this, or why we need these groups and different things. And I immediately sign up for one. Like, okay, I'm meeting. Yeah. But I haven't told you yet.
No, I know nothing at this time. I know nothing that happened in the bathroom. I don't know about your sobbing.
So did I tell you that night? Did I sign up for the group?
I don't remember. I don't even know about the conversation that took place around the fire at
Yeah.
this point. I don't think you tell me that night. I actually think you go to the accountability group first.
Yeah, because at an intro group meeting.
And then you have to come to me and tell me you have to confess something again. And that's when I'm, my stomach.
You're right. So I go to the intro group, and part of the intro group is like, do other people know you're going through this group? Because they were hitting on people who are married. Like, does your spouse know?
Yeah.
Like, or are you telling, that's what, and Carl said, or are you just telling your spouse you're like out playing poker?
Yeah.
He would say that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, now I've got to tell. And that was the challenge for that day. That was the action.
Yeah.
Was tell your spouse what you're doing. And
which is the last thing you wanted to do, was confess another thing to me.
No. Oh my gosh. So I go into the bedroom after that meeting, online meeting, confess to you, and I tell you about it. Hey, and I know I was bumping around trying to figure out how to tell you, but I essentially just tell you like, okay, I've been looking at porn, which I think you already kind of figured that out, but you didn't know that it was a problem, and you didn't know I was convicted of it.
Right.
And so therefore I think that's where...
You just kind of laid everything out on the line to me. You told me about the conversation around the fire pit, and you were like, I'm not going to go into details, because that's one thing. You were very confidential with the guys too, unless you had permission to share some things with me, right? And so you told me about that without details. You told me about, you just told me everything that had happened. And you were like, I'm telling you this because I have a problem and I don't want to anymore. And I'm convicted about it, so I want to have help in this area. I'm overwhelmed a little bit, but not shocked because, I mean, like I said, and we've mentioned in earlier podcasts, it's just kind of what people our age did. I don't know. Like, but I was just like, okay, if we're going to take this
We're kind of the
serious-
first generation that it became a problem for.
Yes.
We didn't grow up with it, unfortunately. That's a whole nother subject, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hearing you telling me, but I'm not super disappointed because I don't know enough about it yet, right? So I have to get educated on it, you know? But then once I do know it's a problem, and you know, we go through walking through this, and I'm catching you doing things like that, then it becomes a problem for me too.
Yeah.
And then it's something that we have to start walking through together as a married couple. And once again, I'm alone. I have no support in this.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I don't know. I'm just having to learn. I'm literally just researching myself, because at first I take it personally, right? Like any woman would, like, well, I'm not skinny. I look nothing like these girls look on here, you know. It's like, not going to do that, you know, like, so it was hard. And I was just like, kind of like, oh gosh, here we go. Another thing we have to walk through, you know, type deal. But then I started doing research. I think I listened to some YouTube video about it.
Well, I sent you some of the
maybe
videos.
that's what you did. You were sending me stuff so that I could fully learn that it had zero to do with me, actually, at all.
Yeah.
It was... Most of the time, it's triggers that start between 8 to 10 years old, and then it's just ways of medicating. But it actually has nothing to do with the wife, how she looks, anything like that. And so that helped me a lot to not take it personally.
But that's one of the things, is that it affected our intimacy, and I didn't know I didn't know it was affecting our intimacy, right?
Right.
Because I didn't know till I knew.
Yeah. And I didn't know till I knew, right?
And
then when we do become aware, then it kind of puts a bump in our intimacy again, because it's awkward. Because now I feel like, oh, my body doesn't look like this. Yeah. Oh, is that what he truly desires? You know, like, so I have to work through body image issues. You have to work through shame and guilt cycles, right? So it's bumpy and it's awkward as we're going through this.
Yeah. And pornography is so odd in one aspect, and maybe it's not odd, I guess, in retrospect to everything else, but it's more or less just whenever you're looking at you have alcohol and drugs, clubs, whatever. You can stop all those things relatively easy because you're seeing those things. You can cut yourself off from those. Pornography was one of those things that just kind of really stuck with me, and it wasn't anything else about, and that's what you learn about it. There's nothing. It's not about sex anymore. It's not about those things anymore. It's about these chemical changes that are happening in your brain, and this is how you're medicating stress and anxiety and different things. Even that night he brings it up, right, and he tells me at the campfire, it instantly pushes my anxiety up. And so therefore I want to medicate it with something. Well, I'm not doing drugs or alcohol anymore. Well, now since I've been a Christian, I don't do those things. I'm doing this. So therefore it's a whole shame guilt cycle that's happening with me.
Right.
And now I've just brought that all into our home. And then you can get into the spiritual aspect too of that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And that might be another talk we can have too about that.
I do want to make a comment though. For you personally, the alcohol and the drugs was easy to stop because that was a very dramatic, drastic way that God spoke audibly to both of us that day.
Yeah.
That's not everybody's story. That's also okay if you need help with drug and alcohol addiction. So when he said that just a few minutes ago, that's not to take away from people that need the help. This is just our personal story. That it was easier. The drugs and alcohol were easier for you than the pornography was.
Yeah.
And it's okay if your story's different.
Well, more or less, I was saying it's more or less easier to distance yourself from those things because of the way how invasive internet pornography is.
Yes, but for some people, because some people have families that alcohol, it's hard.
I guess you're right.
Alcohol can be heavy in a lot of areas, and I feel like it is in our society. So I totally see what you're saying, but for your personal story, the pornography was harder to let go of.
Yeah.
Because we did a complete 180 and like we had to get, step away from our friends and stuff, which made it easier for the alcohol and drugs to stop.
Yeah.
But pornography can be hidden.
Yeah.
It's literally in your back pocket via your phone, right? The access is easier and it's easier to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That exposure, or that conversation me and you had starting. So I started the accountability groups. It was every Wednesday, I think, that I had an accountability group. And it was really late at night too because I had to make it work our schedule. But
yeah, because we had the group too on Wednesdays.
So I was meeting at 9 to 11 or something, because it was a 2-hour meeting. And we did it online. I was meeting with guys from, it was like 8 to 10 people
all over
across the United States that we all met with. So in that, I grew some relationships in all of that. But I think as we close this podcast to close, we'll get into more of like what that accountability looks like.
Oh, for sure.
And maybe that healing looks like in the next one. And just some of the other things. But for this, it's thinking about how God pulls your marriages together and is always trying to pull your marriages together. And I think where the lesson can be learned is that, like, just being aware of the people that God has put in your life and the situations and just the opportunities. So around that campfire, that sparked our journey into accountability and really just healing a whole nother area of our life.
Absolutely.
And so God is always trying to heal us.
Yeah. He makes no mistakes.
Yeah.
There are no coincidences. That question that night needed to be asked by him because it jump-started another place of healing for us in our marriage. I wish I could say that journey was as quick as the 180 that you did with the drugs and alcohol, but it wasn't. It took years.
Yeah, that one took a while.
And and we'll get into that in future podcasts of like what we've done to work through it and how we help other couples now. And but it's just, again, really neat how God is the great dot connector. He literally goes before us. It's really neat how Groesbeck grew us, that group grew us. Yeah, so we're excited.
We haven't even gotten to the point where we get to adoption and all those
none
sorts
of
of
that.
things. So
No, I mean, y'all, there's just so much, and God is in it all.
But I know this conversation does, just to your point earlier, it does trigger a lot of people. Mm-hmm. This is a triggering conversation. Just knowing the couples and people we've talked to, and people's marriage who that have ended because of this, people that are in the middle of this. So I think a good time would be just to pray over kind of what we said, the hurting wife and the shameful husband. Yeah. And just praying over those situations, because you know, if you're listening to this now and you've got these going on, or there's suspicions of it, or you're in the middle of it, there is a way out. Yeah,
and we can talk about it more next week. Feel free to reach out to us if you need help now. You can't wait till the next episode.
Shoot us an email.
We're here to help and provide resources and things like that. So we'll pray us out, and then we'll see you next week.
Yeah, so God, we are so thankful for these hard conversations that you allow us to have, and we pray for the people who hear this message, Lord. We pray that that if there's any triggering or anything like that, Lord, that you just be over them, that you cover them, Jesus, that even in this moment, if someone's listening to this, that they are just reassured, Lord, that you are just, like Tabby said, the great dot connector, that you will connect them, that you will lead them, and that you will guide their self and their marriages through whatever heartache or challenges they have right now, Lord.
Yes, God, we just thank you for who you are, and that you care so deeply about every issue that we go through as individuals, as married couples, and we just trust you. And Lord, I know that there's somebody out there listening right now that just needs you. They need to feel held by you. And I pray, Lord, that they're able to just cry out to you, Lord, in this moment. And we just pray over everyone listening that you are able to speak into their lives, that you give them a moment where they feel heard and seen and loved by you. And I just ask for those opportunities to arise for you to speak into their lives, Lord. We thank you for what you're doing in us and through this podcast and through the listeners, Lord. We love you, we praise you, and we pray all these things in your loving name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Okay, till next time. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to I Still Do. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We'd also love to hear from you, so if you have any questions or even a story you'd like to share with us to get our advice on, please feel free to send us an email at geraldandtabby@istillDoPodcast.com. Until next time, keep choosing love and each other, because we still do.